that's the one thing where I get irritated with people that are like, oh, I want to do what you do or some semblance of it. I'm like, all right, you can either you have the skills or you can always hire out the skill. Oh, but I don't want to spend any money unless I know for certain that I'm going to get that money back. I'm like, okay, well then go get a job. Then go get a 9-to-5 job and with salary, but those don't exist anymore. So fuck off.
This is the Ideas Lab podcast, where you can learn from great creative and entrepreneurial minds how to turn your ideas into original businesses, books, and brands. Because in a crowded world, it pays to stand out. This is your host, John Williams, best-selling author and founder of the Ideas Lab London. 7 years ago, Emma Johnson started the blog wealthysinglemommy.com. And it's now the #1 blog for single mothers around the world and the largest single mom community in the world. Emma's blog is now a 6-figure business with 200,000 monthly page views and an entire team supporting it. But I wanted to know how she got here and what her advice would be to somebody who is starting a blog today and wanted to have the same kind of success. Hi, Emma. Thanks very much for making the time to speak with us on the Ideas Lab podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me.
I was very impressed when I met you and we talked a little in New York about how wealthysinglemommy.com is doing. And it's like a powerhouse blog. And I know so many people who follow me who are interested in how do you make a living out of a blog. And I know the truth is it's a lot harder than people might imagine it is. And the gurus who make money out of those kind of courses say it is. So I'd love to know a little bit about your story. But how did you get started right at the beginning? What sent you down this track? Because you were doing something else beforehand, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I've always been a writer. I've always made my career with writing in some capacity. I started in community newspapers as a journalist. I still consider myself really a journalist. It's just kind of taken on different forms more recently. But I was a full-time freelance writer focusing on like personal finance, small business topics. And just went through like a big life change. We can get into it, but I went through a divorce, found myself as a single mom. And it was that's a huge deal for anybody. For me, it was just monumental. And I was raised by a single mom. And I think that specific experience really shaped me as a person and also a lot of my professional interests. Like the fact that I focus on personal finance and money is so interesting to me. The sociology and the culture of money has always been so interesting to me because I grew up poor, though I was raised by an educated white woman. So, in an affluent community, meaning the United States. I grew up in a middle class small town in the Midwest in the United States. But so all these things were just always so intellectually very curious to me. And then I found myself in a situation where I was broke. I was going through a divorce. I was financially dependent on a man, even though I consider myself a feminist. So all these things were just so interesting to me. And I had all this it was just such an emotional thing. It was a very huge emotional experience for me. And so a couple of years after my divorce, I had a boyfriend that was very, very intense, which is a whole other topic. If you go through a divorce, it turns out that's a universal experience that your first breakup after divorce is extremely painful. And so I had all this free time. My kids were with their dad on the weekends. I didn't have a boyfriend anymore. And so what do? You start a blog. So it was a very personal blog. It was just, I had no thoughts of making money from it. I didn't know how to make money from it. I just didn't even think that's something you could do. But I was a writer. I should have a blog. And I had a blog. And it immediately took off.
So when was this though? When did you start?
So 7 years ago, and I just threw it up. In fact, just the other day, my daughter asked me why I named it Wealthy Single Mommy. And I'm like, here's the story. Couldn't sleep because I was so sad. And I just thought I wanted a blog and I wanted to be about money and just, challenging the assumption about single motherhood and poverty and single moms. And I had to get those words in there. And the only one that I could find for less than $5 that was available was Wealthy Single Mommy. And I just bought it, didn't think about it really at all. I never really loved it. The word mommy kind of to this day irritates me. But it's taken on a life of its own and I just got over it because it can't be changed.
That's funny because I assumed you were an SEO genius and that's why you chosen the URL.
Well, now I am. I'm totally an SEO genius now. At the time I was an SEO dunce. Like I knew nothing at all. But look, I would say like Amazon, that's not an SEO savvy word. Bluetooth, there's a bazillion examples of things that just become what they become. And so, yeah, though I would say if you're starting off from scratch, don't be cute. Be smart and buy your URL. Don't put your personal name in it. Don't put your initials. Don't make up a weird word that no one's going to remember. Do be smart about it. But that wasn't my journey. So it was really just a very personal. I was very interested in very feminist issues. Here we were, women with all these opportunities, but the pay gap persisted. And what do you do if you're a woman that makes money and you're dating, and you're a woman who has kids and you're dating? Do you date? How does this all work out? And so I'm just writing, and it was so interesting. I was dating, and I was writing about my sex life and relationships and work and politics and feminism. And it just took off. Right away, I think the New York Times gave me a mention. So that was cool. Plus it was great for SEO and traffic, which I was very self-taught learning about at the time. And the money just started coming in, and it was 2 years. People started approaching me about sponsorships and advertising and partnerships. And I was investing I hired a kind of a talent agency that was kind of working with me on my delivery and got me a radio show. And that was expensive. And I did spend money. I just threw this thing up on my own, on WordPress, did self-design, but then I invested in a designer, but not tons of money. I mean, the first couple of years, it was probably less than $10,000 first year, less than $20,000 second year. And it felt good. It was fun. There was an audience. It was always yes. I put something out there, it would get traffic, it would get engagement, it'd get media attention. The media would invite me for interviews. And so it was always there's something special there, even though the money absolutely was not following. And I was still full on making a very nice living as a freelance writer. But meanwhile, simultaneously, the internet was happening. And the market rate for freelance writing, as I knew it anyways, was gone. And so I'm well, that's stupid. I'm not going to chase money that doesn't exist anymore. Plus, I'd done that. I'd already had my success there. That was done. And this thing was growing, and it was very exciting for me. It was exciting that I could do whatever I wanted, right? I could write whatever the hell I wanted, and people were listening. I didn't have an editor. For some of my personality type, it's a dream come true for me. And money just started organically coming in. And I was I made a decision 5 years ago on, January 1, and you look at your year-end numbers and you set the goals like everybody else. And I'm I am not going to be a freelance writer anymore. I did have maybe a couple clients that kind of made sense to support my blogging career now, my blogging business. But other than that, I'm I changed my tagline on LinkedIn. I changed what I told myself when I met them for the first time. I just made an internal and an external division. I now own a digital marketing business. And that's what I did, because by now I had a podcast. I started dabbling in courses, selling courses, which I know you have, that's part of your business, and figuring out advertising and SEO and all of these things. And it was I had to make this executive decision, who I was and what I was going to be, and not be wishy-washy about it. So, and that was it. And it's been gangbusters ever since then. But now it's strategy, right? So now I don't spend so much of my hours screaming about the patriarchy. I spent a lot of hours geeking out about SEO, which is fun because I like making money. Making money is tons of fun, but it's not so intellectually or politically exciting as it was, which that's on me, right? I have the time. It's on me now to figure out how to fulfill that part of myself.
I mean, it's an amazing journey, but you make it sound too easy. So I want to rewind a bit, because I put out some blog posts. Everybody loved them. New York Times wrote about me. I mean, I went ka-ching. So
my course, $9.99.
Yeah. Now, first of all, you're a journalist and you're a writer, and I don't think, because sometimes I have clients that say, I want to write a book like this person. And I go okay, but to write a book in that style, you actually need to be a really good writer. So it comes up with books a lot, but it comes up with blogs.
I'm going to challenge you on that. I went to journalism school. I had, a great incubator when I was very young, working for daily newspapers, writing literally three stories a day. That was brilliant. And I love it. And it really worries me, as somebody that believes in democracy, that model is going away, because newspapers don't exist. The endless news feed is not good for good writing, right? You need a word count to be a good. So all those things, yes, that I definitely am coming from, let's say, a place of privilege in that regard. That said, you don't need special training to be great writers.
No, I don't think that. No, I don't. Yeah.
Did not go to journalism school.
No, I agree. I agree that. So I'm not saying you need to be a formally trained writer, but you need writing chops, which is you just need to do it a lot. You need to get good. And I think it sounds like you got to that point. And so,
I would say though to be hopeful, or you need a good writer, a good editor, or you need a ghostwriting partner, which are all accessible. Those are all accessible to everybody. It's going to cost you money. And that's the one thing where I get irritated with people that are like, oh, I want to do what you do, or some semblance of it. I'm like, all right, you can either you have the skills, or you can always hire out the skill. Oh, but I don't want to spend any money unless I know for certain that I'm going to get that money back. I'm like, okay, well then go get a job.
yeah.
Then go get a 9 to 5 job and with salary, but those don't exist anymore. So fuck off.
Yeah, right. So I mean, yeah, you can't have it's one or the other, isn't it? And I think it's a really good point. We do have this. I know I find myself having this instinct going like, oh, I should do it myself. I can do that. When actually somebody else could do it much better. And it's and what you're describing is thinking like an entrepreneur, where you go, actually, what you do is there's a switch, I think, that happens, which is from, well, let's see if this works, to I'm going to goddamn well make this work. And I suspect that you went out, you've got a bit of that energy about you, and you made it work. But so when you were writing these early blog posts that caught fire, were these kind of ranty things about the patriarchy? What was it that really caught people? Were they humorous or serious or?
It was some of both. Well, and I will say when I started, I really started this thing on Facebook. Right. That's where the traffic came from. I didn't have a huge following. I just had like a small personal account or whatever. And the algorithm was in my favor at the time. It was in all of our favor. There was such thing as a viral blog post, right? There really isn't anymore. Like Facebook would just let things go organic, right? So I would write provocative things. So I'm trying to think. So a lot of the message was, I mean, the underlying message that I have is that women really do have all the power. We've just given it away. So one of the big themes, for example, in my message and my activism is like, why do we have this thing set up where women it's institutionalized that women are financially dependent on men. And then my message is to single moms. I always speak specifically to the single moms. Plenty of guys listen in, plenty of married moms, single women, but my voice is always to my peers, the single mom. And I'm like, go make your own money. There's such a high price to pay to be chasing after child support or alimony. There's no such thing as free money, right? It creates acrimony with your kid's dad. You're incentivized to hold yourself back financially to get more money from this guy that you're not involved with anymore and that you're trying to separate from. So that is, it sounds so common sense to me, and maybe you, John, I don't know, but it's so provocative. It is challenging things every single separating, divorcing woman and all women are told, which is, that motherhood is a full-time job and your highest calling as a mother, and he should pay you because it's equal work. And I'm like, whatever. I mean, that, like, maybe that was applicable 40 years ago when women couldn't even have a credit card in her own name, much less own property. But here we are in 2015, now 2019. And I mean, we are 50% of college graduates. We are 50% of most professional degree programs. We make the same when we get out of college. The only thing that's holding us back is that we drop out. We choose, women, you are making choices. We choose to drop out to stay home with kids that don't need that much childcare. So anyways, I've got this whole thing, and it's just, it really resonates with a lot of people, and it really pisses off a lot of people. And that's the golden ticket. It evokes a really strong emotion in everybody. So that stuff just went crazy. So it's challenging for me to mentor new bloggers, because now it is really about very technical work, very, very technical work about chasing keywords, right? So if I were to tell somebody that maybe has similar instincts to mine, you've got something really powerful to say, you got to get it out there. There is still opportunity on places like Twitter, on Instagram, though PS, Instagram's down, on my Facebook. Like, that free traffic is not going to be there. And, and that's a different medium. It's a very visual medium, which, that's not my jam. But that's many, many people's jams. So, if it's a measure about politics, it's more of a social media player, YouTube, right? And that's just, we're all just social media stars, right? My jam happens to be writing 1,500 blog posts. That's my sweet spot. So Now it's like I can do my provocative thing, but I'm retrofitting it to keywords, which is so boring and it makes a horrible podcast episode. Um, but it allows me to do what I love to do, which is scream about stuff that I like to scream about and make money.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good. So, in other words, if someone was starting today, if you were starting today, you'd have to operate differently. So it's worth, and it might not be blogging centric, or it might be blogging on Instagram because people are writing blog like posts on Instagram, aren't they, or something? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I am starting a new venture. It's another media platform. It's very narrowly focused on my activism, which is around equally shared parenting after separation. And I've had written a ton about that on my blog, but it never quite fit because my blog is my business, but it's also my activist platform. Anyway, so I've separated them. It's called momsforsharedparenting.org is the blog. And I'm building it slowly, but from scratch. So in a way, it's very nostalgic for me because it brings me back to my glory days of starting my blog, which were very, very satisfying for me. But it's now knowing what I know, operating in a different search climate, different algorithm climate than when I started. So I do feel for people that are trying to start that. And what I would say is, again, find your medium, and not everybody's medium is the same. You can hire somebody. Maybe you're not ready to invest. Like I have a full, like an SEO partner. We really have almost a joint venture for part of my business. We work very closely together. That's not the level of engagement most people are going to need or want from the start, but you can hire somebody to do some initial keyword search for you, teach yourself there's some very affordable SEO term tools out there just to help you. So if I don't know, John, give me an example of something like you might be interested in or one of your followers might be interested in terms of a topic.
Writing your own business book.
Writing your own business book, how to write a business book, how to write a book yourself, how to self-publish, right? So one quick little free tool that I can give you, what's your question? Literally write a question like as you would ask John this question in Google, and then Google is going to give you the other related keyword terms. So we can even do this right here as we're speaking, and I can tell you what it is. Like we are all, whatever continent we're in, is how to write a business, book. I'm on Google Chrome in New York City, which, Google knows exactly where you are and it's going to generate search results accordingly. But okay, we see there are 829 million results. So that means that is extremely competitive. So if you're trying to write a blog or a book or a post about that topic, I would say go find something else because everyone and their brother's already doing that, or they're searching for it anyways. But that's only one part of the equation. Then the equation is what kind of results are you getting? What is the top of this? Scribe writing. What is scribe writing? Is that a quality site? Are they making money? If the answer is no, well, then there might be an opportunity for you. Forbes has an article. Well, Forbes isn't making any money from that because they don't do affiliate deals. I know that for a fact. Make your copy count. So there, you just see at the top of the search results, but then you go to the bottom and it says searches related to how to write a business book. That was our search term, how to write a business book. And then you have all these other keywords, how to structure a business book, how to write a business book in 30 days. What is a business book? How to write a business book online. So then you start to dig into those. So teaching yourself a little bit about SEO, keywords, and what your chances are. And then apply that also to Amazon in your case. Amazon's another, think about Amazon as another social media outlet because people, if you want to write anything, you can use Amazon to do that as well.
And so in that example you just did for me there, at the bottom it said other searches. One of them was how to structure a business book. If I write a blog post called how to structure a business book, that might actually be a bit more SEO friendly because it's a smaller target market who are smaller number of blog posts around that than there are about how to write a business book in general.
Maybe, but you just get into one of these tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, and they will tell you exactly, and they will tell you the dollar value for these things if you're going after. So a big part of my business is affiliate, right? So, you want to open a brokerage account. You do certain keyword searches. My blog ranks for certain of those keyword searches on page 1. Google, you're going to click through you open a brokerage account through my special affiliate link and I make $100. So that's those people that are searching those terms for affiliate. Most of us that is gobbling up page one,
So
right?
right. So most of the money that's being made by your site, is that being made the majority of it by affiliate links?
Uh, well, probably about half of it, and the rest of it is going to be sponsorships. Well, so my income is affiliate, yes, and that's a very technical, high touch thing that I know a lot of that, but it's not really my forte, and that's where I hire out my partner, and she's brilliant. That's all she does all day long is live and breathe this stuff, and she is super excited about it. So knock yourself out. You can do that. I will do about my other thing over here. And then sponsorships. So that would be like a sponsored blog post, a series of blog posts, social media package. And that's just getting creative. It's you find brands, businesses that are wanting to reach your target audience and getting very creative about like how to best reach them, what the brand's goals are, what you can offer. I mean, at this point, I can come to them and tell them, like, I have a very deep knowledge of about how I think people are going to respond to their product and how to position it. So I'm really, honestly, my knowledge base about marketing is extremely deep. I am a digital marketer. Yeah, I'm a writer, but everyone's a writer, right? Like that's subjective. It is subjective. And you look at the people that are making money online, how many of them are formally trained writers? Well, all the formally trained journalists I know are screaming and crying about poverty. So, writing is not a valued commodity anymore. That's not to say that it's not needed or that very wonderful skilled writers are not of huge value or can't make money, because they absolutely do. And I feel like guilty because I don't invest in developing my writing skills. I'm not diminishing writing, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to make money from this, it is really about marketing. Like, focus more on learning about marketing than, I would say, secondary to the writing.
Okay. And where does the traffic come from now for your blog? I mean, there's probably a lot of
Search.
so it's
It's
mostly
all about search.
organic search.
Yeah, organic search is the most valuable thing you can do. And we should also talk about email marketing, but search. If somebody just happens upon your thing because it comes through their Facebook feed and they click, that'd be great. Like, but what's gonna click? What are they gonna click on? They're not gonna click on top 5 life insurance plans for single women. That's not like the most exciting thing about all the cute baby videos and funny memes. Like, that is not the thing they're clicking through on Facebook. They don't give a shit about that. You know when they're going to click through that and then buy life insurance? When they're actively searching for it. So search traffic it's high intent. So you want people that they're already a warm client. They're already looking for it. They already heard about the single mom down the street that died, and they're worried about that. It kept them up last night, and they are ready to buy. So they are searching for it, and they're looking for it, and single mom blog. She knows what she's talking about, and they're going to believe me and trust me and click through, and I'm going to make that commission.
Yeah. So they start by searching for life insurance, and then they see one of your posts come up in the organic search, and then they click through, and your post in itself is listing 5 different policies, all of which are affiliate links, presumably.
Well, some of them, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that is the search. So that's why I really focus on search. Email is also a very, like, you can build a huge audience on social media, but how many of those people are going to be clicking through and buying your product? Because it's very hard. You're asking people to jump mediums. So let's say you have a huge Instagram following. Many people do, right? But you want them to click through either to your blog, like, a lot of fashion and beauty bloggers, they do very well on Instagram. It's a visual medium. It's like, obviously people are going to spend a lot more time like being excited about like a really cute blogger in a bikini, and they click through that. But you want them to click through as few times as possible. So you want them that they have an affiliate link that goes to Nordstrom, where they're going to buy the $200 bikini and they're going to make, $20 on that bikini. Right. So that's the model, but that's a lot harder because you're asking them to go to a different medium, right? You're going from Instagram maybe to a blog post and then to Nordstrom, or maybe from Instagram to Nordstrom. Whereas in my case, they're already on there, they're already searching, they're already reading. It's like, it's a shorter, you're asking people to do fewer things. But then email, we should talk about email, because email, I think, is still very accessible to people. If you can collect somebody's email, that is still, it's, people think it's like old fashioned. It's not. It's a very, very valuable thing. Email marketers still can make a ton of money if you do it right and are really giving people a lot of value and not just spamming
How
them.
do you get people onto the email list? Have you got a good lead magnet?
I do, and that's something I'm investing in right now. So over the years, this is like, and honestly, a good lead magnet. I've done everything from giving away like 100-page books, like ebooks, to right now, it's like a little guide. I think it's 17 steps to thriving as a single mom. People are often coming to me because they're having a hard time. Like I have 2 points. People are going through a breakup, they're freaking out, they don't know how they're going to make it, or they have like kind of gotten on their feet and they're calming down and they're ready to start dating again. Those are the 2 times when I find people. So if they're coming to me in their moment of crisis and I can offer them just, it's honestly, it's not that deep of a resource. It's a few page PDF and people love it and they sign up for it.
And then when you're sending, you do an email newsletter, presumably, do you?
Yes. If I were, that is something I should have something like weekly. But here's the thing, my content is evergreen. So when people sign up, they're already getting like an automatic, they're in a funnel, like things that I know that they're going to open, things that will probably lead them to something that's revenue generating for me. Because I'm not like doing breaking news, right? I'm not a news site. I don't follow follow pop culture. I don't follow politics. It doesn't matter. Some of my most profitable, it's valuable. It's valuable to people because they wouldn't be seeking it out and trafficking the post. They could be 5 or 7 years old. It doesn't have to be news. Right. So I do try to keep it fresh and keep longtime subscribers new, fresh stuff. I probably don't send stuff maybe twice a month. But if you are new to the list, you will get something every week for a long time.
Do you have to resist the temptation to write about some things that don't fit in that category? So I imagine there's also all sorts of things you could say about, current president and the Democratic candidates and all sorts of things. And do you resist writing that because that's not going to fit into this kind of model? I mean,
Yeah, well, I guess I scratched that itch with like my personal Facebook feed. But that is one of the reasons I did start this new activism site, because I do feel like it's not just general politics. It's in this very specific, it's relevant to the Wealthy Single Mommy platform. But I really I was like, I feel so passionate about some of these topics. And I really feel like there's nobody else that is covering them in a meaningful way that I feel like I can. And I'm like, well, I have this audience. I can change people's minds. I can have a voice. And so what? I'm going to alienate some people, but that's how it goes, and tough shit. And this is the cost of being a politically responsible person and all these things. And yeah, I think that wasn't totally wrong, but at the same time, it's like, this is so much better. Like the minute I separated, I started this new site just, I don't know, 3-5 months ago, and immediately was like healthier, right? Just like there's a place for everything now, right? And the new site is obviously tiny compared to the old one, the Wealthy Single Mommy, but I will grow it into a media site because that's what I know how to do. And I mean, that's my activism too. Like I have those skills to build a media platform, and that's how I know how to communicate with people. So I don't know, TBD where that takes me, but yeah. But yes, but it was a struggle because I'd be writing, like I'd be negotiating like a really big media partnership, but I'd be like screaming about the stuff that I know is really provocative. I'm like, oh, I would hold myself back in my activism, but then I felt like it held me back in my business, and it was always this conflict. So I took that conflict out of it, and it's just so much better for everybody involved.
that's a good idea. I like that solution. Now, you also wrote a book called The Kick-Ass Single Mom. Did that help?
Yeah, I have it right here for you.
When was that?
That was 2017, so almost 2 years ago. And it's with a Penguin imprint called Tarsha Perigi. And that was great. It was, I was able to get a very nice big 6-figure book deal. And there's like a big bidding war for it when it was to market. And that was really fun. And did a ton of media with it. It was very, and it's just, yeah, it was great. It was really great. It was painful as hell to write. I did not enjoy writing a book, but it's still selling nicely and seems to connect with women. So it's been a very satisfying project. I also have a smaller self-published book that I pinned on. It's just about money. And I was always very interested in self-published books because, like, why, like everything about my business is DIY, self-done, independent. So I'm like, why am I doing like a book with an old legacy publisher? That doesn't even make sense. Well, they paid me a lot of money for it, so that's why. But so I tried this and it was fine. It's chugging along. But it's fun. It was fun. It was a fun little project to do, and I hired a great editor and designer to work with me on it. So it's a satisfying little thing I did last year.
Now you did do a podcast for a while, but you discontinued it. Why was that? Because I thought it was the golden age of podcasting.
It probably is. I did it for like 5 years, and it did well. It started as like this little AM radio show that I got, and just turned it into a podcast, and it was fine. I just didn't like it anymore. I just was like, I got kind of sick of the whole interview. No offense, but everybody had the same interview style, and I wasn't unique in that regard. I'm like, I've been a journalist for 20 years. I've interviewed people. Like, I'm over it. Like, I'm so over interviewing people. Everybody of which is pimping their book, their podcast, their startup, which I probably secretly think is stupid. So I was just like over it. And it was fine. Like the traffic was solid and everything. I grew out of it. It didn't give me joy and it didn't make me a lot of money. So it was a source of stress and I just let it go. And it was purely personal. It was not, people having fun with their podcast. And that's great.
So do you try to stick with just what you enjoy? I mean, there is a business angle to it, of course. I mean, is the business still something that excites you, or do you have to apply yourself to it?
Yeah, I mean, so the business part has been great and really thriving. And like I mentioned, I brought in this SEO partner, and she has been great. She's exactly what I've needed, because there was a couple of years where things were really solid, but I knew that I needed some more technical help. And I mean, I'm a smart person, you're smart. I'm like, I could have taught myself that, but it was so outside of my interests. And so I was like, the universe smiled on me and introduced me to her, and it's been wonderful. We have completely cleaned up the site. We just completely complement each other in terms of skills. And I really like her as a person. Like, I really, that's very important for me to work with people I trust and I enjoy. And she's super cool. So that has been really satisfying, because it was like, I don't know, like, it was like, you know what it was? I've got this wart on my forehead that's been there forever. And it's like, because I don't see it because it's on my head. I don't deal with it, but it annoys me. It's in the back of my mind, irritating me all the time. And I just need to like get it taken care of to relieve myself of it. So that was what it was like. I found I was relieved of the wart in my business, and now it's flourishing. And so, but there's a part of me like, which is like really developing my creative writing skills and really focusing very narrowly on like my art, like the art and politics of what brought me into this in the first place. I don't spend any energy on that at all. So that's my new wart. And so that's now on me, right? Because the business has created enough time and money for me to now invest in something else. So, that's answering your question about, do I enjoy it? I do enjoy it. And I try to be grateful every day that I have this. I mean, I was basically on vacation for 4 weeks, making money the whole time, and it's all good,
So you've got how many people have you got working on the blog?
No full-time people, and I realized I do not want to do that. I do not like managing people at all. And I don't like working with employees. Right. I want to work with a hustler who, has a similar sensibility as I do. So I have my partner, my SEO partner for sure, like a developer and a designer, which in a perfect world, those are the same people, but that's hard to do. And then I have offshoot contractors. Like I have somebody managing my Pinterest. I have, I did have a podcast editor, which needless to say that we're not working together anymore. So some of them are regular contractors on like a monthly retainer situation, a profit sharing situation, and then ad hoc people as needed.
And that includes people writing blog posts. You're not writing all.
Yeah. So over the last year, I have started hiring freelance writers, because so much of why I'm writing is to chase after keywords and make money. And that's not joyful. Like that is not, but then I'm editing people. And that is, I'm not sure which one I hate more, editing other people or writing really boring shit after keywords. It's a toss-up. It is a toss-up. So I'm working that out. But the next level would be to hire like an editorial director who would then be managing the writers, but then I'm managing that person. That person would be an employee, and I don't like employees. So yeah, I'm working it out.
Yeah. Oh, well, these are high quality problems. It's good. So, so people want to find out more about what you do. Wealthysinglemommy.com evergreencontent.com is the main blog. And the new one, the activism one, what did you say that is?
momsforsharedparenting.org.
momsforsharedparenting.org. Do you mean as in getting the father to share responsibility?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. And on social media, what are your social media channels that you're at?
Oh, so on Twitter would be at Johnson Emma, and then Facebook would be Wealthy Single Mommy page, and then Moms for Shared Parenting page, I would say. And I have one thing where Facebook, the free traffic is kind of dried up. I still think there's some room for Facebook groups, and I have a very active group called Millionaire Single Moms. And my tips for Facebook groups is you have to manage the shit out of them. I have 3 admins who I pay very part-time. They're moms. They were just moms, part of the group that were like really great members. Because the tone, especially with my audience, I mean, you get 15,000 divorced women together. That is a recipe for like anger, man-hating, poverty. So you can't, like, I have very strict rules, and it takes 3 women to manage this stuff. So you can't bash men. You can't like pimp your multi-level marketing or your coaching business. You can't pimp your stuff. You can't just vent. It has to be constructive and positive, and it works. It's tons of work, expensive, but we've got 95% engagement, which is unheard of.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And it changes people's lives.
I tell people if you're going to do a free Facebook group, it's quite a commitment, and you've really got to be on the ball. When I ran groups in the past, we would have this thing where we'd run a 30-day challenge, and then once or twice we left people in there on their own, and then they sort of reverted to type after a while. And one of my colleagues called it they're unhelping each other. So it was sort of, after we'd indoctrinated them in the entrepreneurial mindset, they were then starting to tell each other to drop their prices and, give terrible advice. They were kind of reverting to type afterwards. So what we learned is that you need to keep control of that whole conversation. So that's fascinating. That's been really good, Emma. I really enjoyed that. So what's next for you? What's going to be next for the business, do you think?
Well, I'm just very steadily growing it, focusing on search mostly, and then really growing this new activism thing, because it's, I've realized one very awesome thing that I've realized is like money only brings so much happiness, right? I don't have an expensive lifestyle. I really live pretty frugally. I love traveling, but I don't happen to enjoy like luxury travel per se. So I feel like more money is not necessarily going to buy me more joy or even any more freedom, because I love working. Like, I'm a worker. Like, if I didn't have to work, I don't know what I would do with myself. So it's been, like, again, like, what do you call them? High quality problems. But I'm really now focused on growing this activism site. It's just something I'm extremely passionate about. I feel very called to do. I don't see work in that space that I believe needs to be done. So, it's like a service. I really believe this is the same thing that called me to Wealthy Single Mommy. I felt no one was speaking to me. I'm like, well, I'm a professional, educated woman with a good income. I'm a single mom. Where are my homies? Where's my sisters? And who's having these conversations? No, I couldn't find that place, so I created it. And I feel the same thing with the shared parenting movement. So, and it's just interesting to me. I'm selfish about it. I want to meet other people who think like I do and do some cool shit together. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, thanks very much, Emma. I wish you the best of luck with all of it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Ideas Lab podcast. Please do subscribe, and if you've enjoyed this episode, it would be great if you could leave us a review. You can get links and details of everything mentioned in the podcast in the show notes, along with photos and video clips from many of our episodes. Just go to theideaslab.org/podcast.